The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and
It's
free.
Back with Nahaja Black is sponsored by the Ministry of Health, SMG Caribbean, Fidelity Bank Bahamas, J.S. Johnson, the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Atlantis Paradise Island, Cable Bahamas, Rev Christmas, IWAC X, AML Foods Limited, and BTC.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. Yes, it's rainy. Yes, it's pea soup and dumpling day. Yes, it's a good reason to say you ain't going for a walk. Like I was supposed to go walking this afternoon, but look at God, won't he make it rain? Happy Monday, everybody. It feels as if the weekend is too short, right? Like we've been waiting for the weekend, and then whoop, there it is. It's Monday. Like someone just pulled the rug under you from Friday, and they had like 2 days of daylight, non-daylight saving, like reverse saving of days, and we lost 2 days. But it's good to be here. God is good. We are in the land of the living. We are in a space where hope and optimism can reign. We are in a space where we can move forward and not backward, not be held by our grief or resentments. We are in a space where this day has possibilities that yesterday did not afford us. Even when it's a rainy day, understand that in the rain, there is growth. Understand with the clouds overcast, there is an opportunity to be born anew. Storms come to make room for the new thing, for the new season, for the new day. That there will always be life, even after death. Even as one goes, a baby is born. And those things give you hope that this is your moment. This is your moment. You're never too old to be great. You could be 70 and still 2 years away from your greatest potential. And those are things that just are important to know. Never lose hope. Always stay optimistic. A spirit of gratefulness will give you a spirit of joy. Be grateful. Be grateful. You know, things could be, you might have had some bad days. And some bad days may have rolled up into bad months and bad years. But you're still here. And you're here because there is a purpose, not for you to live in enduring suffering, but for you to triumph. And today's show is going to be a lot of that today, where we talk about the triumph, where we talk about how do we overcome. And those tenets matter in our country. It matters in your personal life. It matters in your business. It matters that, success is very intentional. Success comes with failures as stories. You can't expect success without failure being a part of the story. You can't expect talk about your 40, 50, 60-year marriage without telling the stories of the bumps and the lumps. Success comes through failures. How many times did it take Edison to make the light bulb? How many times did it take for Newton to do calculations or Einstein to come up with his theories? How many times did it take for investigating and curiosity, ups and downs? This is the road that we are traveled. We travel. This is our destiny, our purpose. And the greatest joy in life is to live in your purpose. To live in your purpose means you'll never work a day in your life. The hardest thing is for people to abandon their fears and move into the fulfillment of their purpose. We've been going through some years, these past 3 years, 2 years, and it feels as if as 2022 is going to roll in, 2021 is going to roll into 2022 with the same kind of mojo, right? Where we're still trying to grapple with life and what is. Right. And that's some of the challenges we face with grappling with what is, what will be. Can it get any worse than this? And we would say no. Right. So there's some things that we're going to discuss today, and we're going to discuss all week. One of the goals of this show every day is that we learn together. We grow together. We grow together. We grow as a nation. We grow as a people. And can I just say as a side note, and this is me digressing, yeah? Shout out to all of my wonderful sponsors. Won't he do it? Anyways, now I'm back. I got stories to tell. One day I'm going to write a book, and probably 10 people are going to buy it, but I'm going to enjoy writing it. So before we get to what my show will be about. I have some special guests today. I have former senator, a friend of mine. I've grown to really admire this woman. She's a brilliant Bahamian woman, young professional. Robin Lyons, attorney at law, has a heart that I love, wit, charm. I will set her up. I'm going to find a Bahamian app where you swipe left and right. I don't even know what that means, but we can find something. And then I have a very special guest, Miss Alicia Newton. She shared her story on Facebook. And that story was so powerful that I asked if she would be willing to share the story, her story of triumph and despair and overcoming with us on the radio. Because I believe that it really is a deliverance story. It is a story that can empower, it will move you, but it may trigger some. And so it will definitely come with a disclaimer. So that's what the story is today. Tomorrow we have Minister Fred Mitchell. One of the things that I want to do this week, I've been touching on it, and after having the ambassador, the Chinese ambassador on the show, and before that, really watching some maneuvering and machinations of the U.S. and China recently, even now, Canada, seeing the international organizations or diplomats speaking up, showing up for the Bahamas, has been very interesting. And it has piqued, and it's reawakened a lot of my international political economy studies, my deep desire for this type of discourse and conversation. So we tomorrow is Minister of Foreign Affairs, Fred Mitchell. And I'm looking forward to that discussion with him about how do we leverage our position? What is foreign affairs, foreign policy in the Bahamas, right? So those are questions that we'll be discussing tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, I have joining me professor from the United States. He wrote an article on thehill.com. And this article that he wrote was about the challenges the U.S. Faces dealing with China, right? And the U.S. faces with China's growing relationship with the Bahamas, and talks about proximity. And that's Professor Patrick Griffin. He co-authored this article on thehill.com. He's agreed to join me on Wednesday to talk about that position, some of the ways in which the United States forms itself as an ally. Then we have on Thursday, I'm working to really see some Bahamians who are living abroad and working in their facets, and we'll continue with the week. So that's going to be this week. Before I get to my guests, though, I want to say this. So today, I saw an interesting article. This article that was so interesting. The Minister of Health, Minister Darville, shared that they may, because of the new COVID laws and the need to monitor and the need to uphold and ensure that we are following through with these COVID laws, right, or regulations, that we might need to hire private security. I can't even hold in my chuckle. I had to chuckle. Like I needed that was like a Monday morning chuckle. Like, really? This is what we're doing now? Really? I remember this. I have a story for you. I remember this. When I went off to school, one of my first classes, Politics 101, we had this very interesting, it was the first time I was in an auditorium for a class. So I felt like I was really in university this time. First time, big auditorium, hundreds of students, about 300 students in this class. And so I really felt like I was off to school. This was the first time. And the first class that this, politics professor, he was a scruffy white dude. Right? He looked like the quintessential tenured professor. He wore, he was disheveled, had the always wearing this bomber type jacket, scruffy around the head. Hair always looked like it needed some pomade, but cool cat. Very much into his work, matter of fact. We had our first class, and our first class was, he said, watch this video. And the first video that he showed us as a class was this experiment. And this experiment was with a fellow dressed, and I'm sure some of you have seen this, a fellow dressed in a white trench coat, and he had the participants who were part of this experiment to come in and sit at a desk. And they would sit at a desk, and he would tell them to press this button. And he explained to them, when you press this button, someone is going to get a small, tiny jolt of electricity. It's not going to kill them, but they're going to get a tiny jolt. And I just want you to press the button. And so they would say, that's weird, okay. And so he would say, press the button. And they would press the button. And you'd hear the person in the back, they go, and they're like, see, it's not, they're okay. So and he would say, press the button again. And this time it'll be a little bit more of a jolt. And each time he would have the person press the button and it would grow in intensity of pain for the person that they can't see, but they can hear the screams. And they did this to show that people were okay, even though they were uncomfortable. They followed the directive because someone in authority gave them permission. Someone in authority told them it was okay to inflict harm on someone else because it was a part of what we're doing. And that was when I was introduced to Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky, political author and writer. Noam Chomsky talked about banal nationalism. Banal nationalism is when we will pretty much as people follow directives as long as it's coming from proper authority. Now, banal nationalism, when Chomsky wrote about it and talked about it, he kind of wanted to parallel it with the stories of Hitler and how people back in the day, good upstanding citizens, the Germans, how could a German citizen know that their prime minister is killing folk and they be okay with it? Banal nationalism, this is what he says. And I don't bring this to parallel completely, by no means, with our COVID situation, but I think it's essential to my point of view or what I'm about to say. I was taught then question things. Actually, I was taught this from when I was a child. My father always told me question everything. And don't question it to be, snarky or to be ridiculous. Don't question everything just for the sense of being annoying. Once you understand something, you sell it, you buy it. You can buy it and you can sell it once you understand something. This whole concept of this process of COVID has placed a lot of people in some interesting spots. I think that there are three types of people in COVID. There are folks who are fully pro, gung-ho, everything authorities say. Then there are those who are totally on the other end of the spectrum, who are anti, and we are all sheep, and, Bill Gates and 5G. You got to go whole section. And then you got people in the middle. And the folks in the middle are like, I ain't falling for the 5G thing. Because I always say the question is, what 5G got to do with us? Just as a side note, like we barely could use 3G with sense. They give us 4G and y'all don't even know the difference, but I digress. But what is that? We're in the middle, right? Where we are saying, okay, when will it end? So now the government's talking about, even though we've reduced or negated or moved away from the, the executive orders, right? The competent authority, all of this stuff. Now we're talking about in England mandating boosters, COVID passports requiring a booster to be fully immunized, redefining vaccination. We've redefined vaccination from the onset of this pandemic. At some point, we're going to have to redefine our whole approach to COVID-19 versus trying to redefine terms to fit where we are. And then at the same time, I understand full well that this is a process that we are all growing into. We're all learning as we go. You can't be so extreme where you think that listen, we all gonna die anyway. So everybody just live life. And if you get COVID and you die, you know how crazy that is? 671 that we know of on the record died from COVID-19 in the Bahamas. 671 people, 671 people. You cannot be reckless and careless with the concept or the idea of free-wielding no precautions. Because of that 671 people who died, thousands and thousands more were connected by degrees of separations on friends and family that you knew. So we have to approach this thing with reason. We have to approach this thing understanding as health officials, right, that you can't just say we're going to add more expense. Where are we going to get the money from? Where are we going to get the money from to talk about hiring or outsourcing security drivers, right? We bought 23 cars in this COVID pandemic. Well, and every government likes to buy cars. I mean, governments carry on like Oprah. You get a car. You get a car. No, you get a car. Get an electric car. Who needs diesel? But are we better off with all of these accoutrements and accessories? Are we chasing ourselves? When does it end? And no one has yet been able to tell us when it ends because the end seems never to be coming. Every time we come close, they snatch. COVID does something different. Are we chasing our tails? So only 40% of us are vaccinated. Today, the Ministry of Health gave us a much better And I commend the Ministry of Health for what I consider a dynamo a document right here. And I'm going to zoom in and get some a bit more clarity on this, because I want y'all to see some of the stuff that they shared with us on this new COVID dashboard, right? So they have on this COVID dashboard admissions and deaths, right? October 2021. And they have total admissions. And this time they've added into the admissions list what we've been asking for, the amount of vaccinated, unvaccinated, partially and fully vaccinated, and unvaccinated. So that's the three. Unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, and fully vaccinated. Total admissions, 181 admissions, right? And this is for PMH, I think. This isn't, at the Princess Margaret Hospital. This isn't Doctors Hospital. This isn't the RAND. This is just at the Princess Margaret Hospital, right? And they go through this and they show you a total of 181 admissions. Unvaccinated is 167. Partially vaccinated is 6. Fully vaccinated is 8. And they go through the percentages. I love this. Congratulations. Thank you, Princess Margaret Hospital, for this, right? And then they tell you the amount that was admitted into hospital. Then we go to deaths. Of the 49 deaths that only happened here in country, in Princess Margaret Hospital, not Doctors Hospital or others. 45 of the 49 deaths, 45 were unvaccinated. That's 91.8%. Partially vaccinated, 2 persons were partially unvaccinated, partially vaccinated who died. And fully vaccinated who died was 2. Thank you. Thank you, Ministry PMH, for providing this level of data, right? So this is important to us. However, I do want to point out something, and this is not being nitpicking, but I just want to make sure we point out something on this data as well. 40% of us are vaccinated in country. That is 60%. By and large, the majority of us are not vaccinated. So by and large, we anticipate that the majority of persons showing up in hospitals sick with COVID-19 would be unvaccinated. As we see with countries like Israel, as we see with places like Boston and Boston, Massachusetts, as we see around the world, where there are more vaccinated people showing up in hospital or more vaccinated countries or cities, then you will see more vaccinated people showing up in hospital with COVID. Because what we have also seen and what we also know is that the efficacy wanes with COVID-19 vaccines. People with natural immunity find themselves with their efficacy lasting longer based on reports. Persons who have been naturally immune and add a shot find that their efficacy lasts even longer. This is by data, states, and facts. So this is not something that's made up. So of course we're going to see right now in our data, more persons unvaccinated in hospital. What I would like to see, because for me, I am built in a way where I question things. They got to make sense. I can't sell something I don't believe in, right? And I'm not saying I don't believe in what the mandate is, but what I'm saying is I told my husband the other day, I said, when it started to lose me, because I was full on with the vaccine, full on, was when a family friend lost his wife. And then all kind of things started freaking me out, because I'm like, well, we got to get boosters now. How much is this? How is this going to keep going? That means that the whole construct of the whole idea of what was supposed to be an opening of the country, you don't see it opening, because they're now telling us beware of the big next black wave, right? What I would like to see, though, and I think it'll be really good to see if we can, now the total number of vaccinated, how many in terms of percentage are showing up out of the vaccinated total in hospital or dead, right? Of the vaccinated total, not of the total presenting in hospital, but the total of that particular subset, because then that gives us a good idea of the efficacy. And then we can even throw in the data pool so that we can get more data, drill down and give the more substantive data. Is that when was the date of vaccination proving efficacy waning? Why is this important, Nahaja? It ain't important to everybody. It's most likely just important to me. And why is it important to me? Because this level of data helps to sell. See, before I went into economics and this thing, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Quickly, I learned I was not smart enough to do that thing, I quickly learned that. It means no sense in lying. Some people are meant to do this thing, other people aren't. And, we would have to, calculate, do data sets, all of this foolishness, blah, blah, blah. And it stressed me out. But one thing it did teach me the importance of is the collection of data. When I went into economics and I had to do statistical econ, we had to do whole papers on health, right? You had to drill into the database to determine the best policies you would create to help a particular policy work out. So, for example, there was a policy idea on smoking, how to reduce smoking. Why is smoking not helpful or healthy economically for Canada, right? I had to drill through the data. Data gives you the ability to sell ideas, policy, and legislation. We need some data. This, though, is far better than what we had before, and I commend the Ministry of Health, Princess Margaret Hospital for having it. I need a little bit more of it, but I think that this is leading in the right direction. My only concern now is y'all talking the next level of money about hiring security people. I don't understand where that money coming from. I don't know which security companies we trying to do this with, because that don't add up to me. Y'all got enough police. We done promote 60 million of them. A lot of people could be on the beat. Where is technology that can make monitoring easier? Are we going to be a police state? When does this end? I think there are fair questions. Fair questions. I just don't want to end up that person that keeps pushing the button, knowing that I'm harming people. And just because you told me so, person in trench coat, I think it's okay. When we come back, I want to welcome Attorney Robin Lyons. We're switching gears now. I done had on my bed and gone on my pedestal. COVID is still real. Y'all don't get sick. Even though we looking good, there's natural immunity working out. Plus, I ain't gonna lie to you. I done had COVID and I done got my shot. So I extra straight. Just, y'all don't sleep on Haji. Haji extra straight. Y'all don't cough around me though. Run right out. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Attorney Robin Lyons joining me. Alicia Newton also joining me. We're going to switch gears just a little bit. I want to talk about this. It's time to switch gears now because national issues, along with COVID, I tell you can't sleep in this country. Don't sleep. We'll be back right after this.
Helping out each other, family and everybody. It's a simple act of kindness with you, me, and RBC.
RBC wants to spread acts of kindness during this festive season. One simple act of kindness for our friends, co-workers, and communities can cause the brightest smile. Help a stranger, give a food basket, or call an elderly person. Share your stories at facebook.com/RBC Caribbean.
Acts of kindness, RBC.
Rejuvenate, refresh, treat yourself. Immerse yourself in total comfort. Pamper yourself. After all, you're worth it. Relax. Rid yourself of all life's stresses. At Baja Retreat Anti-Aging Spa, you will find everything you need to enhance your body and spirit. Call today at 323-6711 and begin your journey to serenity at Baja Retreat Anti-Aging Spa.
Do you worry that you or your loved ones may get COVID-19 and possibly die from it? Getting a COVID-19 vaccine can lower your risk of severe illness or death from COVID-19. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is available, and you only need one shot. One and done and fully vaccinated for now. Talk to a healthcare professional about your concerns and about getting vaccinated. To be safe, continue to wash your hands, wear your face mask, practice physical distancing, and get vaccinated.
This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and this radio station.
We are working to protect our country, our people, and our livelihoods so that we can move forward. The vaccine is safe. The vaccine is easy. The vaccine is essential for our recovery. If we want to rebuild our economy, if we want to get back to our jobs, if we want to get back to our lives, our families, we must do this together.
Your child needs nutrients every day, and Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder. This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Milk does not contain DHA, but contains calcium and other nutrients.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
We're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. It's a beautiful day, y'all. Don't forget, follow us, like us, hit on the notification bell if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Please do. Always hit the, like the thumbs up button. Y'all know if you don't like it, just don't be petty. Just don't thumbs down it because you're petty. Thumbs up it. You know what I mean? Just saying. I hope everybody's doing well, taking care of yourself, enjoying your best life. I had to read this comment. Someone says, freezing my tatas off at work in the hotel business center. Yeah, you get catch. To watch this show, this is loyalty. Nahaja, shout out to you. All right, everybody. I want to welcome, we're going to switch gears now because, of course, in light of what has been going on in country, there's been some serious streaks of not serious streaks of violence. It's just now more pronounced. We're now seeing it more. And I have two wonderful ladies. I'm excited because I thought my guest, Ms. Newton, wouldn't be able to join us until later, but she's able to join us now. So I'm really excited that she's joining us. And my good friend, attorney Robin Lyons, and I want to welcome them both to the show. Robin and Alicia, welcome. Oh, well, I don't see Alicia, but hi, Robin. Hi. There you go.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Hi, Alicia. Robin, you're a little low. Say it again.
Okay, let me see if I can turn my volume
No, you're good.
up a bit. I'm good?
You're good now. Yeah, you're good now.
Great.
Welcome, ladies. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm great.
Let's see if we can get Alicia
I hope
on better.
Alicia is great too. I'm great.
I hope so too. We'll get her sorted out. She's having a little technical difficulties. When she gets on, she'll do the thumbs up. Alicia, let me know when you're ready and do the thumbs up for me so we can move forward.
Sounds
all right.
Good.
Robin, welcome to the show. It's good to have you on, my friend.
Thank you. I enjoyed your introduction. Always. Yeah. I always enjoy you. You're good people.
What do you think of that? Before we segue into that topic, I think is it okay that you ask questions and not just ask questions, but demand sensible or reasoned answers?
I think okay is not sufficient. It's essential. It's necessary. Mm-hmm. It's the only way that persons who are watching get a better understanding. And you know what I think? It forces our legislators to have answers to give.
Yeah.
See, if you don't ask the question, then there are a lot of things that they don't even think about. And in the questioning, we get to the meat and the resolve. And so I appreciate you every day. I know your listeners appreciate you. Even the people who may want to give you a thumbs down appreciate you. Got to respect you, man. You be doing your thing out here in these streets.
It's so good to have you on, Robin. Of course, Robin Lyons, former senator, attorney at law, of course. Robin, what's the name of your law firm? Kingdom
it's
something?
KLA Chambers. Kingdom Law Advocates. We had to shorten it to KLA because we have Kingdom Advocates and Associates, and we're just it's too close in name.
Yeah. Kingdom Law Advocates. I like that name. It's a good name. So I'm happy that you're here with us today.
We're
talking about the law and domestic violence. That's today's topic. And Alicia, and I see her, she's back, but I know we're still having maybe some technical issues there. So we'll get her resolved very soon, very soon.
Good.
Let's start with you though, because this would be our opening salvo on this conversation. Mm-hmm. And then I want to hear her story. The whole scenario that has happened in the past 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of things where there's been violence, physical violence. So it's just not, physical violence against children, against women. And it's been going on for a long time, right? This is something that is systemic or endemic, maybe we could say, even with our society. I want to ask you this from the legal perspective, because I had a lady message me, and her question was, Nahaja, but what about when you're married and you're trying to get out, right? And the abuse may not just be physical, it's emotional. It's the controlling of money. that now I have to figure out how to cheat or force him to hit me to get out.
No.
And so these are some interesting conversations that are spinning off of this storyline of abuse and violence. What would you say from your vantage point as an attorney, where the strengths and weaknesses are in our laws that help folks in these situations?
Folks that are married, folks that are just in a domestic circumstance.
So let's go with folks in a domestic situation.
Well, in a domestic situation, I always advise my clients when they're living together to invoke the legislation. It's called the Domestic Violence Protection Orders Act. Now, a lot of people don't really know about the existence of this act, but this act covers a wide range of types of abuse, including financial abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, harassment. It covers a wide range of issues, and it actually allows a magistrate to order a party who is the perpetrator of abuse to be removed from the home. It also gives the magistrate the powers to enforce periodical payments of support. So let's just say this is the breadwinner who was in the house, but the court finds it necessary to have him removed from the home. You can stay in the home, and the court can also order that there be a contribution to household expenses, rent, utilities, and those kinds of things. So the provisions are there. The challenge that we have, though, is that we have to do more education in terms of advising people of what exists in the law presently, and then also advocating for where there are weaknesses in the law. How do we tighten these things up? How do we get stronger policy and legislative reform to bring some resolve to people and the challenges that they may be facing in their personal lives? And so this is a magistrate court application. So what would happen is a woman or a man who is suffering from an abuser, and like I said, whether that's sexual, financial, physical, emotional, can go to the magistrate court and fill out a summons. There's nothing fancy about it. You can handwrite and let the court know, this is why I need an interim order for protection, right? You have to do it under oath. So you'll go before a magistrate. Most times it is the family court magistrate. So that'll be either court number 3 or court number 14, because we now have 2 family courts. That's been something that we've advocated for a long time because of the volume. So we have 2 family courts now at the magistrate court. And you can just go there, and I don't even know if there's a cost to file the summons when you've already filled it out. But if there is a cost, it's only 52 cents. Only 52 cents.
What's that? That's the cost of the stamp.
That's the cost to seal it, to get it sealed and authenticated, right? And then the magistrate court staff will give you multiple copies. So once you've filled out your application form and the magistrate has taken your evidence under oath and he or she is satisfied that there's sufficient cause to enter what we call an interim order for protection. So before you leave the courthouse, you have an interim order that says that whatever action that person was levying against you, they have to cease and desist immediately. So whether that was physical, financial, emotional, it needs to stop. That's basically what the order would say. And you get a copy for yourself. We always advise our clients to give a copy to the nearest police station where they reside or where they're going. And a third copy is given to a police officer to serve on the perpetrator, to serve on what we call the respondent. And that interim order takes immediate effect. And the court will give you a date to come back, because of course, the person who's being accused has the right to answer, acknowledge, or defend. Okay?
Yeah.
And so that's the Domestic Violence Protection Orders Act. And that is for married couples, that is for couples who are not married, intimate partners. An adult can bring a protection order on behalf of a minor. The commissioner of police can bring an application for protection order on behalf of an individual. And so there is some legislation on that, on those issues, but a lot of people, like I said, don't really know about that particular piece of law and the process. So I'm glad we're able to share that information today for people who need that immediate action. A lot of people know about the bound over application. A lot of people know about bounding over people to keep the peace. Well, this has more strength than a bound over application, and this carries with it greater sanctions if it's breached. And this particular an order for protection can last, I think, up to 2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow. Now, in terms of the execution of it, you said how long does it take? The process itself? So let's say I find that I'm in danger today, and I need to deal with this. Do I go to an attorney first? Do I go to police first? What do I do first?
Well, if you want the order for protection, because they're issued from the court. So if you have legal counsel who's familiar with this aspect of the law, then of course, seek legal counsel so they can walk you through the process. If you don't have legal counsel, just go to the magistrate court. When you walk in the door, advise the police officers that sit at the desk, I need to make an application for a protection order. I need to go to the family court to make this application. They'll give you some direction, and the family court will simply give you the forms to fill out. So that'll be your name, that'll be the respondent's name, your contact information, and then information on what you are alleging to be the reason you need the protection. So you'll say, I live in a household with the respondent, I'm physically abused, or whatever the abuse is, and I'm in fear that if the court does not intervene, I'll be brought to harm. So that's what you put in writing. And then of course the court will let you say that under oath, and all of that is supposed to take place within that day. So you should leave from the court with that interim protection order in hand.
Well, that's great.
And you're able to take that to the nearest police station. Like I said, you will have a copy, take one to the police station so that should anything occur, the police already have on record that this person had an order that was issued by a court that they were not supposed to carry out any kind of actions in terms of, as far as you're concerned. And like I say, it may be that they're not supposed to come within a certain amount of feet of you. It may be that they're not supposed to physically touch you, or whatever the court deems necessary to provide you with the immediate legal protection that you need. So you can get that within that day.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. We recently had on on YouTube a young lady saying, crying out for help, and she was on Shanique Miller's show, and it was on Facebook, not YouTube, Facebook, and she said, listen, she had done whatever legal thing she needed to do, and she still felt unsafe, and she felt that she wasn't being taken seriously by the law. There are stories of that, and I think Alicia has found herself in a better internet position, so I'm looking forward to that. When we go to break, we'll come to her. But what do you say to folks with that storyline? Because that's a common storyline. Attorney Robin Lyons joining us here. We're discussing the legal framework by which someone can seek protection from someone who may be in a domestic violence position. What do you say to someone that is saying, hey, I've done these things, but it's not working out for me?
Well, I think that I'd have to know more about that story, and it's true. Everything depends on, perpetrators are different. Perpetrators come built different. You have a perpetrator who would know that, okay, I've been to a court, I've put in an order for protection, and that's enough to kind of scare someone into compliance. You have some people that challenge the law. So a lot of it depends on the type of individual that you're dealing with. And like I said, what steps has the individual taken? Because you have some instances where there is a whole log, and that's not to give the police any excuse, but there's a whole plethora of complaint with two partners. Every other month, one or the other is coming. She complains against him, he complains against her. And so before I assess the matter, I'd have to understand it in its entirety. I wouldn't want to give an opinion, just based on what someone has suggested. I really have to unpack it, because the reality is that if you have an order for protection, that means something. It has to mean something to the police. It has to mean something to the courts. It has to mean something to anyone who is in enforcement. And so if someone is suggesting, even with this order for protection, or even with me following the necessary legal channels, there's still nothing happening, then I'd really need to find out what's going on. And that's something that we have to take seriously. Sensitization is needed, absolutely. It really is. But we also want people to understand that when you ask for help and help is given, you have to be strong enough to remove yourself from an environment that is causing you harm. You can't consistently and continually go back into that space. And whilst that may be difficult and whilst that may be hard, you have to know that you are worth more than, you are invaluable. You just have to love yourself enough to pull out, to just get out. And whatever that looks like, life may be different when you walk away. It is, but you are worth taking that chance, taking that risk on yourself, where there's children involved, whether, you just got to walk away, step back. And if you step back, and if you have gone through the legal channels and you're saying, I still can't get any help, then call me. 424-3003, 601-2025. Because if you are not being protected, that's serious for me. And I have to find out why. Because we're paying our law enforcement to execute. That's what we're paying them for. And so I need to understand what's happening with you in your circumstance. And like I said, this is not, we can't be the kind of people that say we want help. And then when the police come in, oh no, leave him.
That's
Don't
right.
do him like that. Oh no, leave her. She working.
I love him. Yeah.
Because you can't have it both ways. We have to know that you are ready. Your attorney has to know you're ready. The police has to know you're ready. The court has to know you're ready. Do you know how much applications I've made and at the substantive date people don't show up?
That's it. I'm so glad you're hitting it.
You know how much times we go the distance and people say, Miss Lyons, I don't have it and I can't pay. And I say, that's okay. What do you need? And you go through all of this. And then they don't show up.
Folks said, please repeat the numbers.
Yeah, it's 42. Look at me putting my cell phone, and I good looking. I don't want nobody calling me for no dates and stuff. This real serious business.
You can't help yourself, but you didn't put it out there.
But please give me a call at the office if you find yourself in a position, in a circumstance, and you want to know what laws are available for you and what help you can activate. 325-3104 or 601-2025. But be ready. 601-2025. But be ready. Be ready. You have to be ready, mind, body, and spirit. You have to come to the conclusion that whatever happens, I'm not staying in this situation. That's the kind of man, that's the kind of woman I'm ready to go to bats for. Because when you turn around and you fighting for someone and they ain't there, that's discouraging. We want the laws to change. We want people to take domestic violence and gender-based violence seriously. But we also have to be people that show up. We have to be people that show up for ourselves, but we show up for other people too.
Yeah, that's a word. I feel a praise coming on.
Yeah, man, we have to show up.
I love me some attorney Robin D. Lyons joining me. I told you that's why I love this woman. I love this woman. She's my kindred sister. This is my kind of people. Monique said I was just about to say it. Preach.
Yeah, man.
And it's so true.
We have to do it.
Listen.
In 2013, Nahaja, the then Prime Minister Perry Christie compiled a domestic violence, a gender-based violence task force, and they came out with a report in 2015. And that report led to a few things, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. We are a very reactive society. We're talking gender-based violence because someone was almost killed in the street. We're talking abuse because a child lost her life. But these things exist. They've always existed in our society. And we don't need somebody else to be dragged in the street. We don't need another woman to lose her life. We don't need somebody else to be beaten to know that these things exist. And we have to do something about it. But we can only do what, I heard someone say, you cannot act where there's no complaint.
Hold that thought. We got to take a break. And someone said something very interesting, a very interesting text. And then we're going to bring on Alicia Newton. So with domestic violence, there also needs to be understanding that these sufferers have been beaten down over time. The strength to leave does not come easily. They attempt to leave, but lack the strength to sustain the confidence to make such a step. That's very interesting. We're going to have joining us on the other side of the break.
Yeah, let's talk about that too.
Definitely. We got Alicia Newton joining us on the other side of the break. She is she's a survivor. That's what we say. She's a survivor. She's someone who's overcome. She's victorious. And that story she shared on her Facebook page has led to this discussion today. Attorney Robin Lyons joining us. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We're going to take a quick news break. We'll be back right after this.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
Listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I hope everybody's doing well, right? I'm looking forward to a great show today. I've got joining us. We got some text messages here too that I'm looking forward to getting into. I want to welcome, of course, back to the show. She was on with me in an early segment, of course, Attorney Robin Lyons. But I want to welcome now, joining us, this is just the devil. When you need it, now look at that. Alicia. We got to try and get this back. We were fine all that time until it was time to click, let's go. So we're going to hopefully get Alicia back on with us, Robin. And good thing you're here.
Story really needs to be heard.
Well, you know what? Whilst we try and get her sorted out, I want to read a part of her story that we have so far. And I think, one of the reasons why Mrs. Newton was invited to the show was because, of course, Robin, and you saw her story on her Facebook page as well.
I did.
I don't know, what would be the word you would use? Because I thought it was impactful. It was strong.
I found it honest and compelling,
Yeah.
I really did. I think how raw it was. It's very hard to be that exposed and that vulnerable. You have to be healed to talk like that. And so I was compelled because I knew it meant that she had overcome so much. In order to share, you have to overcome,
Yeah.
And so I was proud of her. I think this is one of my former classmates. I'm just waiting to see her good enough. I think that's one of my former classmates.
I think it is one of your folks. She did confirm that for us. So okay. One of the reasons why, and I, everything now wants to play games with me whilst we try to get ourselves resolved here or sorted out here, because I'm trying to get the story for us. What she shared was that, hey, listen, she went through her own challenges. She was in an abusive relationship where she couldn't get out. And I'm checking no joke, we just were talking and she was fine. And all of a sudden now I can't get her. So we'll hopefully get that resolved. But why it was important to have her, because what we want to do is have real conversations on this, right? And during this whole storyline of the incident where we had the lady, of course, just a horrific scene in broad daylight. What it brought to attention or to the fore, to head, was the fact that this is something that we keep talking about, Robin. We keep on talking. We keep doing lip service on. It triggers people who've been going through this, who've gone through this, who are presently trying to figure out how to wrap their minds around it. We know that economics affect a lot of people who feel as if they can't get out, but then there's a whole group of people who are still in abusive relationships who are not financially strapped, are more well-off families, but shame keeps a lot of people in a space where their life is in jeopardy. And it was really...
And distorted ideas of love.
Yeah. And you're right, distorted ideas of love. And one of the questions that really, or things that got me with her story, Alicia, and really, I really hope we can get that resolved. And if I don't see her in the next 3 minutes, we'll go to break and hopefully get her back on.
Yeah.
Is that the story tells that there's a complicated story in these things. See, from the outside looking in, it's a lot of people are like, well, if he hits me, I'll kill him and I'll leave, right? But I one time I went through this process in my head, trying to understand, Robin, and it's not like you can. So you really try to use empathy and walk in someone's shoes as best as you can. And I said, I love my husband, right? He's never shown me any, you can imagine when you're dating and you get married, he's never shown you a violent streak or anything. And then you have an argument and he hits you. That's the first time he's ever hit you. So you think that this is not common for him. I love him. He apologizes. He brings flowers. He said he'll never do it again. He's stressed. So sorry. You never meant to do it. Next time you have an argument, he hits you again and he says it's stress. But now he's hit you twice. You haven't told anyone, like when do you find yourself, and that's why I wanted to talk to Alicia, is there a point where you go through this process of abuse and it's like you missed the line when it turned to abuse?
Yeah.
Because you were going through the process of forgiveness and saying that this is unlike the person. Maybe you were ignoring the red flags before, and now it's to a point where you can't undo what has been done. It's just a very convoluted story.
Yeah. Well, let me tell not to cut you, but let me tell my sisters and my brothers it's a way to tell if you're being abused. You know you're being abused when you start doing things to make sure you don't get hit. That's when you know. When you get into compliance to such a degree where, because you've been hit, and because he said, this is why I hit you, when you start living your life trying to prevent the next hit, when there's that fear in your heart, in your mind, and you start living in compliance, because you're not supposed to be afraid of your partner. Yeah, we may argue. Yeah, we may get into it, but I'm not supposed to be afraid of how you're going to respond to me. When that fear exists and that fear makes me act a certain way because I'm trying not to bring you to that point, then you're being abused, because psychologically that is abuse. And we have to understand the way relationships are supposed to work, the way love is supposed to work. You're not supposed to live your life trying to avoid me hitting you. Stress exists. Challenges exist. The way relationships work is that I'm supposed to be your avenue. I'm supposed to be your partner. I'm supposed to be the one that you talk to when the world is overwhelming, and we share. And I'm a relief for you, not a punching bag for you. So that's when you know you're being abused. When you try to live to avoid it, you're abused, sweetheart. You're abused. Because now your decisions are not about the relationship. Now your decisions are about trying to ensure that this partner doesn't give you a reason, or you don't give them a reason to be triggered. Right then and there, you know that psychologically you're bound. And eventually, the physical abuse is going to escalate. It's going to escalate, and it's going to get perpetually worsened, because now all of a sudden, because of your acceptance of those excuses, then you've also accepted that this is how you should respond to me. And that is dangerous for anyone to be in that frame of mind where you start making excuses for why. Not that it was okay to hit you, but why you understand how we could get to that point.
Yeah.
See, that's psychological abuse. And that's why you hide, That's why you don't tell anyone. That's why you don't want to listen to the voice of reason, because deep down inside, you know it's wrong. So when you can't share the things that you're experiencing, when you don't want to express it to someone who you know is going to tell you and be the voice of reason and give you sound advice, you're being abused. You're being abused. Because right now, you're isolating yourself. And part of abuse is isolation. Yeah. Part of abuse is shame. Part of abuse are excuses. Part of abuse is compliance. And it doesn't have to be that it has gone to such a degree where you've had broken bones or a swollen eye or a black eye. It doesn't have to be that far as yet. Mm-hmm. But if you continue to allow yourself to be placed in a circumstance where you're trying to fix a problem that's not yours, mm-hmm. then that's where it starts.
Attorney Robin Lyons joining us. Someone said, very happy that the conversation is being had, but I've witnessed the abuse, and the places that should help just give you the runaround, so you have to take matters into your own hands. Just had to go to do this with a child. Someone sharing that story there. I have a text here I wanted to get to. And for you, Lion, Nahaja, those protection orders don't mean a thing. I had one, and my now ex used to still come at me, telling me he wasn't afraid of going to jail, all because I wanted to leave an abusive marriage. He followed me one day, and when I reached by my girlfriend's house, he punched me in the front of my sons. I pushed him back in his face. I punched him back in his face, scraping him. He then went and made a false complaint saying I attacked him. Then she says, Inspector Fernanda tried to jail me. And it was very nasty. Wow. And those are stories there. And of course, like you would say, Attorney Lyons, you'd say, like, well, I'd need to see more on that.
Well, like I said, what she said something. She said, the protection order didn't mean anything. I just need to know what she did. Mm-hmm. See, the thing about it is that laws can be exhausting, and a lot of people get exhausted. It can be exhausting, and I understand, and it's a system that we need to try to get into and fix. But what exists right now, you can't allow yourself to be exhausted. How many times do you make a complaint? Every single time you need to make a complaint. And people don't like to hear those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. They don't want to. They don't want to know that that's what it takes, but that's what it takes. You put your complaint on the record. And I've had instances where I've made complaints with clients, and where those complaints have not been actioned, I've made complaints against the stations, made complaints against the officers where the complaints were levied if there wasn't police action within a certain amount of time. So you have to be a little bit more aggressive when you're going through these situations. And I understand the level of frustration that people can have. But when you say the protection order doesn't mean anything, then make sure you know that you have done what you're supposed to do. That you took a copy of that order to the nearest police station, and the minute that person was in breach of that order, you went to the police station and said, he's in breach of this order. This is what he did, and I want immediate police action. When you've done that, and the mechanisms of the law have not kicked in, then we have a serious problem, and we have a problem that we need to address.
You know what that says to me too? We're going to take a break so I can at least see if we can get Alicia sorted out. But what it also, and the question that comes to mind is, well, of course, Attorney Lyons, you have a fee. Some things should kick in without needing a fee.
It's
you know
true.
what I mean?
It's true.
And there are, and that's why I have so many issues about how things are done in country, where even with quality defense, you need to have money. If you're broke, if you're struggling, where most of our people are economically challenged, then representation in the legal services and systems is a challenge. And getting things to effectively move quicker. I can probably now, because of my position, get things to happen faster for me than when before if I was still no one. You understand what I'm saying?
You're somebody now.
Am I lying somebody yet? I'm working on it.
You know you're so stubborn.
I was, by the standards,
big people, huh?
by the standards of this country, apparently I might be somebody.
No, I agree. I absolutely.
But you see what my point is that it shouldn't take the need for these actions. There needs to be a little bit more sensitivity to it, and psych training for our person. I like Rain. Rain is my kind of people.
Yeah, Rain say is big. You big. But remember the crisis center, though. Remember the crisis center. Remember the Department of Gender and Family Affairs that has referrals to various entities that will help. So there are services that are available, and there are attorneys who will take on matters at no cost. Now, one of the things that I am advocating for, and I hope to see us do this, is that you have a public defender's office, right? And a public defender's assist persons who are accused of crimes, particularly crimes of a capital nature, your murders, your rapes, etc., etc. And the government, the citizens, will actually pay for you to have defense counsel. Well, I need to see us putting mechanisms in place where you have access to attorneys that are going to be there to assist with persons moving through the system. See, and this is where it gets challenging. This is where it gets challenging for people, because I keep telling them the victims are not represented by lawyers. That's the thing. Unless you're dealing with a divorce, unless you're dealing with an order for protection, you're not represented by counsel. If you are sanctioning or if you are complaining through the criminal procedure code, or if you're complaining of a crime, the chief of police is your representation. The attorney general's office is your representation. You see what I'm saying? The government represents you. You don't get private counsel. So in other words, there's already a kind of payment that is being made for you to have legal representation. But that legal representation is the prosecution's office or the AG's office. And a lot of times, because of how overly subscribed they are, a lot of people complain that they don't feel as though they're getting adequate representation. So how do we fix that? Yeah, how do we fix that? How do we ensure that there is something that is available for a survivor of an instance of domestic violence or sexual assault, etc., to even be able to get access to information so that they understand what the provisions of the law are that are available to them, what the processes are, someone to help them walk through these things. You see what I'm saying? And so we have to look at shoring up the machinations that are available for the survivors, because they don't want, in some circumstances, to deal with the police. They want to deal with someone who they feel a lot more comfortable with talking to and sharing their story. They want to be accompanied to the police station. You see what I'm saying? They want someone who they feel is their representative sitting in the interview process with them, kind of guiding them along. How do we make funding available for their support? Whether we do that through NGOs and civil society, whether we do that through the establishment of a different arm to deal with that. But how do we let people know that if we are going to provide funding to assist the accused, how do we not provide support mechanisms to assist the survivor?
Come on, preach. All right, we got to take a break. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. I tell you the no lie, Alicia Newton will be joining us on the other side of this break, or there will be no comeback for this break. I'm just kidding. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Attorney Robin Lyons joining us. We'll be back right after this.
Rev customers already get more channels, more sports, and more speed. Now, we're giving more Christmas with up to $250,000 in cash and prizes. Sign up or upgrade to Rev Trio to win prizes like rent and mortgage payments, trips to see your favorite sports teams, plus up to $20,000 in our Rev Cash Vault. Want to win more Christmas? Call 601-8992 today and ask for Rev Trio. Rev, You and us, together.
We are working to protect our country, our people, and our livelihoods so that we can move forward. The vaccine is safe. The vaccine is easy. The vaccine is essential for our recovery. If we want to rebuild our economy, if we want to get back to our jobs, if we want to get back to our lives, our families, we must do this together.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
J.S. Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Now, before I bring on Attorney Lyons, I want to bring on my special guest. Due to technical difficulty, she'll only be coming via phone for those who are watching online. And of course, for my radio audience, you already know how this goes. You always only listening anyway. I love y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're talking about domestic violence. Joining me on the show, Alicia Newton. Alicia, welcome to the Hit Back.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Nahaja.
Listen,
Can you
Alicia,
hear?
it's a pleasure. I can hear you. You sound great. It's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for the time. And first of all, for your courage in sharing your story. I want to ask you this. A few days ago, last week, coming to the end of last week, you decided to share your tale of domestic abuse or violence, but you shared it as a full story, that it was convoluted. Tell me first, before you tell us the story, why did you decide to share it on such a public space?
I just felt that it was the time to. Basically, over the last few months, I found myself sharing my story with other women one-on-one. And when I saw the video with the young lady being beaten, stabbed, and a car being driven over her, that really, it crushed my heart to know that this is still going on and we're still not doing anything about it. We're not being serious about it. So it gave me the courage, you know what, let me put it out there on a broader stage. Let me put awareness to what has been happening in our country for so long, because it needs to be addressed.
Well, tell us the story, Alicia, because you shared it. And it was powerful, right? Take us back to your story. How does your story shape up to, or not shape up, but relate to what you saw the other day with that lady on Key West Street? Tell us your story.
With my story, the gentleman that I was in a relationship with for 8 years, I met him a year after I was raped. A stranger broke into my home and I was raped. A year later is when I met him. At the time that I met him, I was in this very dark place. And he was the person that I was able to open up to. I could talk about what was going on. He encouraged me to get back into praying, reading my Bible, to actually starting to live again because I didn't want to be here before I met him. I was ready to give up. And he gave me hope. And the relationship was great at the start, but then things started happening and I started to ignore them because the only thing that I was seeing in my mind was I've been through all of these things in my past. I've been molested. I've been drugged and raped not once or twice, sometimes 3 times. Someone broke into my home and I was raped. Who's going to want someone like me? This man heard what happened to me in the past and he still stayed. And I felt as if I owed him. So when the shouting at me started, I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to figure out what to do to not make him angry. And then the shouting went to him talking down to me, calling me names. And then it went to him using my past to hurt me. So if there's an argument, then he would say, oh, this is the reason why. And it made me feel so ashamed. It broke me to the point where I was ashamed about my past. I was ashamed about what happened to me. I felt as if I was at blame. And he was my savior because, hey, this man still chose to be with me after all of this. So at least I could do is try not to cause him to want to do anything to me because I'm at fault. And that was the thinking that I had for 8 years throughout that relationship, from the verbal to the mental and emotionally abuse, and then it got physical. And the first time it got physical, we were having a conversation about money, and I said something, and it triggered him, and he just slapped me. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that he hit me. He's never hit me before. Yes, he came up in my face. He would call me all kind of names, talk bad to me, but he has never hit me. And I said, you know what? I just made him really angry that day. It's not going to happen again. And family saw things happening, and they talked to me. And at one point, I was really ready to leave. I had packed my stuff. I went back home to my mom's house, and he kept nagging and calling that he wanted to talk. And I kept refusing to talk to him until he just showed up to the house. And he was crying. He needed to talk to me. So I said, you know what, let's go for a walk. And we ended up by my father's church. And that's when he decided to propose to me in front of my father's pastor. And he knew how much that would mean to me because my father had passed away when I was 12, and he meant the world to me. And for him to do something like that, that was him dragging me back in. And it was always things that he would do to drag me back in. I would make up my mind, say, okay, you know what, I'm leaving. But then he'll give me a little something that I've wanted or that I needed emotionally or in the relationship that I thought to make us move a little further forward where we wanted to go, at least where I wanted to go. He would hand that out to me and bring me back in every time. But that last time with the engagement, that was just before it happened. And the pastor there, he was like, you know what, I want to sit down and talk to you guys. We went in one session with him. And the pastor, even after the session, he told me, this man is going to keep reeling you in and you need to get out. And I still ignored it. The reason being, I felt that, hey, this is what I deserve. I couldn't get anything better. My self-confidence was zero. I didn't love me anymore. I was so damaged at that time that I didn't love me. And like I said in my story on Facebook, I remembered how I got those scars. And it was on my birthday. That's one day I would never forget. It was my birthday. And to find out from a friend that, hey, he's talking to somebody else, this other female hasn't posted on Facebook. So I went to look at her LinkedIn page. Right after looking at it, he comes out and attacks me. And when I said that I don't know how I'm even here, because I could have been gone, that could have been it. But for some reason, I was able to squeeze my fingers in between his hand and my throat that day. And in doing that, I got this fire inside of me, and I fought. I refused to let go. I refused. I said I had enough. I fought for my life. I don't know where the strength came from. I have no idea. To this day, I don't know where it came from, but I fought. And I said, I'm going to make as much noise as possible that I can, because I'm not going to suffer in silence with this alone again. I screamed, I fought, I kicked, I threw my hand as much as if wherever I could land a blow, I was trying to land a blow. But I don't want people to get lost into this is her story. I want people to really get the meaning of it. The real reason I posted that, because I want that to be a beacon of hope, that there is hope. You can get out. You can learn to love yourself again. You can learn to want to fight for yourself again. You can get out. This does not have to be your life. You are worth more. That's what I want, to be a beacon of hope that, hey, this ain't it. This isn't it. Because I can share what happened to me till kingdom come. And you have persons who still don't get the meaning. They just have the story, but not the real meaning behind the story. Is that you are loved, you are strong, you are courageous, and you deserve more, and there is hope. Don't stay there and let someone use you as a punching bag, be it a man, woman, or a child. No one deserves to be abused. No one deserves to be hit on. No one deserves for someone to talk to them as if they're nothing. No one deserves that. One single soul.
Alicia Newton joining us on the Hit Back with Nahaja Black Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Powerful words, Alicia, and I want to tell you thank you again for sharing these words, because I know that, of course, going back into it and all of those things, they're memories. But I love what you said, that the story is that of redemption and resurrection, coming back to yourself, coming back to and realizing that you are loved and that you deserve better and more. Your story is intricate and it's woven. It has so many layers. You mentioned the trauma of rape, the trauma of molestation, and that he came at a time when you were already broken even more severely than before. What that whole discussion of value and self-image and confidence, how important is that in terms of the story that you tell, in terms of your experience? How much do you believe that it allowed you to stay? And you've shared it to some degree, but that brokenness had allowed you to be manipulated, molded in that way. Explain the importance of a broken, or the how susceptible you were because of your broken confidence.
For me, it was, I already thought those things about myself that he had to say to me. I stopped loving who I was. I remember days after that last rape that I had, that I survived from. I would get up 2-3 o'clock in the morning, walking in the road, and I would pray. I would say, God, take me out. I didn't have the courage to commit suicide myself, because I was more worried about how my mom was going to bury me. I say, if I commit suicide, the insurance company won't give my mother the money to bury me, so let someone kill me, so she doesn't have to worry about that. Those were the thoughts that I was having. I forgot who I was. I lost me. I was in this abyss and I could not find my way out. It was dark. It was lonely. I didn't feel that I could talk to anyone. I isolated myself, and the drinking did not help. I became addicted to alcohol. It was the only way I could have sleep. It was the only way I could have functioned through the day. I could not go a day without drinking. And I ended up, that was me self-medicating myself. And I had to say it was enough. I had to learn to, it took me a very long time to learn to love me. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for blaming myself for things that monsters did to me. I had to forgive myself for blaming myself for thinking that I'm unworthy. I had to forgive myself for thinking all of those negative thoughts about me. And it wasn't easy. It was a very hard, long road. I remember what really brought me to this place right now. I did something desperate. 2 years ago, I went and I called a friend and I told him, I said, this is how I'm feeling. I feel as if I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do. I don't want to be here. I was even cutting myself at the time. And I need help. I don't know how to cope. The drinking isn't helping. And he called a few places and he got some information for me in terms of helping me deal with my addiction. And I did something extremely crazy. I got up, packed a knapsack, and walked up to the hospital to ask in an emergency. And I told them, I said, I feel as if I'm going to harm myself or someone else. And they put me in room number 3 in the back room by accident emergency, where they keep all the persons who goes to ambulance. Mm-hmm. And I did, like I said, I had to do something desperate. And in sitting in that room, I was able to get that opportunity to go into Sandlands and do their drug rehabilitation program for addiction and alcohol abuse. And in doing that and therapy and my building on my spirituality is what brought me to here. And it took me 2 years to get here. It took 2 years of intense therapy. It took 2 years of sitting down and talking to God. 2 years of learning to love myself and forgiving myself and dropping that addiction and getting over it. The road is not easy, but you have to be willing to take that first step. Like I said, sometimes you have to be willing to do something desperate. You have to be willing to say, I deserve more, and do something desperate.
Powerful stuff, Alicia Newton. And I think that that's what you said, when you have to do something desperate. You mentioned something, Alicia, that your family would speak to you and they would talk to you, but you didn't feel as if they reached you. What was the, I remember you said when his hand was was on your throat, and you said you were not, that was not going to be that moment. The thing that sparked in you, it wasn't necessarily the family in the moment of the abuse, but the thing that sparked in you that said, Alicia, no more. What was the no more moment? Was there a voice that said, you can be better, you can do better? What was that no more voice like for you in your mind, in your spirit?
That no more moment
was it
for
loud?
me.
Was it a book? What was that moment?
That no more moment for me was the voice in my head saying, I don't really want to die. It was that voice. I don't really want to die. And that's the only thought that kept running through my head. I'm not going to die. Not tonight. Not this day. No, this is not it. And that gave me that strength to fight. I just fought. And I just kept saying that over and over in my head. Not today. I am not going to die.
Powerful stuff. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Alicia Newton joins us. Attorney Robin Lyons also joins us. Alicia, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. We will be back right after this. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
Rev customers already get more channels more sports and more speed. Now, we're giving more Christmas with up to $250,000 in cash and prizes. Sign up or upgrade to Rev Trio to win prizes like rent and mortgage payments, trips to see your favorite sports teams, plus up to $20,000 in our Rev Cash Vault. Want to win more Christmas? Call 601-8992 today and ask for Rev Trio. Rev, you and us together.
We are working to protect our country, our people, and our livelihoods so that we can move forward. The vaccine is safe. The vaccine is easy. The vaccine is essential for our recovery. If we want to rebuild our economy, if we want to get back to our jobs, if we want to get back to our lives, our families, we must do this together.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
J.S. Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Attorney Robin Lige joining us, and special guest Alicia Newton also joining us as well on the show. Alicia is joining us via phone. Robin Lige, attorney, joining us as well from her office space. So it's a pleasure to have both of you ladies on right now. Alicia, I wanted to ask you before, and then Robin will chime in a few seconds, but I wanted to ask you, as you share your story, and I'm getting a lot of comments, a lot of people are saying that you're very courageous, and that they thank you for sharing your story, that it is powerful and it's helpful. You know, one of the things that I think is very important and important in this conversation that you've shared is that there is that moment, right? That moment when you have to get to, when you say that I deserve better, I deserve more. Do you think that everyone comes, not everyone comes to that moment, but do you think that there are some folks who don't come to that, or who won't come to that moment, who will feel as if that this is it? Have you met others when you shared your story online? I'm sure a lot of people came to your inbox. What are you finding is the common theme in the story of abuse?
Fear. The fear of losing financial stability, the fear of breaking up a home with kids, the fear of admitting that I need help. A lot of women spoke to me about that fear, and they are still there. They're asking me, how did I decide that I had enough? I told them it was just that I didn't want to die. And you have to come to that realization that you want to live. Because if someone continues day in and day out beating on you, that's breaking your body down bit by bit. Mentally, it's breaking you down bit by bit. If you don't go crazy, you're going to lose your life. It's that serious.
And that's a deep one, fear. I didn't even think of that. It's the fear of the unknowns, the fear of what you anticipate. That's a scary thing. In terms of mental health, you know, can I just tell you, it's just I'm so proud of you, and I think we all are, that the steps that you took to rescue yourself, right? What, in terms of aid, what systems, and I'm asking this, what would you have hoped would have been there for you? Because I know one thing we know for sure, you walked into PMH and you were able to get the mental help that you need to help resolve your addiction and your vices that were trying to help you to cope. But did you feel as if there were any safe harbors for you going through this? Did you know of them and just didn't want to take them, such as housing or crisis center? Were there those things before you whilst you were going through what you were going through?
I didn't know of anywhere to go. Honestly, I didn't know who I could have turned to. I didn't know who I could have talked to. And the mere fact that I was so ashamed of it, that I didn't want to admit that I needed help. I didn't even know how to say I needed help. I didn't even try to find anywhere to go. And even with family, my family tried to help me, mind you. They would always talk to me and be like, you need to get out. This isn't for you. You deserve better. But in my mind, it was, no, I deserve this, and I'm going to stick it out to prove you wrong. I was too afraid at one point, when I was so desperate, to even reach out to my family and let them know the details of everything that was happening. They only saw glimpses of it. They didn't see the in-depth that I dealt with the being sodomized and waking up with knives in my throat. They didn't know all about that at all. And to be honest, it's probably the first time they're even hearing it, because I haven't really opened much to them about it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know where to turn. And even now, there are not much places for, especially females, in this country to turn to, that they would feel safe, that just deals with women. There are not much places that deal with women. And it saddens. It's very saddening. It's frustrating, and it's very sad. And one of the things that I told myself was that, especially more recently, it's been happening on my heart, in my mind, that the reason this needs to be talked about is because we need to put infrastructure and things in place for where a woman can go to and say, I need help. I know that they won't be judged, they won't be ridiculed or turned away. And it's so hard to find a place like that. I was lucky enough that I had a friend who I could have speak to at that point in time, who cared enough to call around and check for me.
Wow. Alicia Newton joining us on the show, The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, talking about her story and her experiences. And the experiences for sure are ones that are, are very tough, and I want to, for all of those persons who are listening and triggered, and you may have had to change the channel, I love you and I understand. But I want to, my friend, Attorney Robin Lyons, and I think that you two may have some sort of quasi relationship there.
That's my classmate, man.
Yes, she's my classmate. Life for life.
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to her, and sometimes you hear people's stories and you just know your limit. And I'm like, I don't have the strength she has. I don't know how she has been able to overcome and survive and be this pillar of strength. And it's just, all I can do is continue to pray her strength and that her healing process continues, and God will allow her survival to be a testimony to someone. And it doesn't have to be a woman, a man, a boy, a girl, who doesn't think, who feels as though there's a place that is so dark that you can't come out. And I think her story shows us that there's always light. Yeah. If we're brave enough to seek it out, there's always light.
Let me ask you, Alicia, when you made that move, of course, the Bahamas is small. I always tell people that's one of the challenges here, right? Like, we live in a small country. Your victimizer is around the way, right? Have you had the unfortunate event of running into him? Were there any charges pressed? Did you think of that sort of thing?
Charges were pressed, but it was hard to get it pressed. That's the problem. That night, after I was able to get outside the apartment and I was in the parking lot, he still had my phone, he had my documents, everything locked up in the apartment with him. And the only way I got them, I had to pick up a rock, and I said, I will throw this through your car windshield if you don't put my stuff outside. And he threw them outside. And I called the Carmichael police station. I told them that I was just in an altercation with my boyfriend. This is what happened. He attacked me. I need assistance. And I had to call several times before a car even came. As a matter of fact, I called my sister, and she reached before the police. And she was coming from all the way Garden Hill. And Carmichael Police Station was right there from State Avenue. And she reached before them. And even after they came, they told me, come in the next day to put in a report, which is what I did. They wrote up a slip, told me to carry to the hospital, have a doctor examine me, which I did, carried back. I don't remember the name of the officer who I dealt with, but he told me, when you have a chance, let someone use your phone and take the pictures and then WhatsApp it to me to this number of the scars and so forth. We did that. All the pictures went in. A week passed, 2 weeks passed, nothing. Then all of a sudden, I'm at work. I see the work phone ringing in my office where I be, and on the call ID is my ex-boyfriend's house number. I didn't answer it. I just snapped a picture of the caller ID, and I sent that as well to the officers, saying, okay, this man's calling my job. So at that time, I decided to tell my manager and my boss what was going on, and I showed them a picture of him. They said, did you know that he was just here 3 days ago telling us that you're harassing a friend of his and wanted us to do something about it? And he harassed me by phone calls, showing up on my job, text messages, emails. He did this for maybe up to a month. And it so happened I had a friend, another schoolmate actually, who was a reservist on the police force.
I'm
and
sorry.
I told him, sorry.
Alicia, sorry. I'm so sorry. I have to stop you right there. It's unfortunate. Time is crazy, but we'll have to do a part 2 of this story.
Yeah.
Robin Lyons and Alicia Newton, thank you guys so much. And I hate that it was ended so abruptly, but thank you all so much.
Thank you.
See you guys.
For having us.
Thank
We have
you
to
for having
continue.
us.
We really have to finish it off.
Yeah.
For sure. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black Guardian Radio. See you all tomorrow. We're out.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.